Have you ever noticed how easy it is sometimes to become a different version of yourself when you are with other people? And this version of yourself might not be who you are if nobody was watching, and might also kind of misrepresent the life that you are living versus the reality of your life. This is a conversation I had recently with a friend, and she went to a conference. She met a lot of people that she had been connecting with online, and she actually realized that a lot of them were way more struggling than what they were letting on in their, more public image. And she was also sharing about how she's trying herself to stop being somebody who is more palatable for people, somebody who is always trying to kind of make herself fit in certain boxes, but she's more just trying to be herself and sharing out loud what she thinks and not filtering things. And I found this very refreshing to have this type of conversations because I also believe that there is a lot of, I would say, a lack of authenticity running in the world right now. A lot of it is because of social media and all the times where we have to build visibility. And a lot of this is obviously like based on social reality. And sometimes being around people, you really want to belong, you really want to fit in, and that might turn you into a different person. Not always necessarily voluntary, but it might be the result you see. And that really made me reflect on my own communication, on the way I come across as well. And I actually had to really admit that I was trying a little bit too hard to fit in over the last few years, without being aware of it. This was the this was the key points. So I thought I'd share with you today because maybe you're trying to find ways to be more yourself while you are around other people, to build authenticity in your voice, to build visibility in a way that is genuine, that if people meet you online, they will meet the same person offline. And I think it takes a lot of work, and it takes a lot of like self-awareness, and also, yeah, self-honesty as well, and also a few principles to work towards. So this is what I'm trying to build for myself. So I thought I'd share with you my experience, because maybe that will inspire you as well to show up with more authenticity, which is what we need in the world. We don't need people who are filtering themselves, or people who are trying to just be like everybody else. We need like more courageous people who are, yeah, proudly being themselves out there and loud about it, so that we can create a better world altogether. So yeah, so my journey towards realizing how much I was trying to fit in started, I would say, over last year. I remember over Christmas time, I was listening to a podcast from Marta Beck, who is one of my favorite coach out there. And she's, if you don't know her, she has a very, very, yeah, intense storyline. And one of the things that she did at some point in her life was to do like a full year of integrity. So where she was basically she went for a full year doing only what she felt like, saying no to everything she did not like, addressing all the situations where she was uncomfortable, like basically telling her truth every single time she had the opportunity to, with people or with situations. And that transformed her life. That's something that she's really, yeah, very proud of. And I think that's something that really inspired me, because I was like, okay, let me see. Because I like the idea of telling your truth, but obviously it's a hard journey. But I was already in this mindset of, I'm going to try that as much as possible, because I was a bit intrigued about seeing where I might actually have been, like performing, or not being as honest as I could be with people or with myself in general. And I found this idea of, just having more integrity actually, like for me it's a relief, because if I'm saying what I think, if I'm saying no to the things I don't want to do, then it's like I'm creating so much peace in my life. So I thought, okay, this is one way to try, and it's also a very interesting exercise. And it was also interesting, particularly because I was diagnosed with neurodivergence, so my brain is on the autism spectrum, and that diagnosis came in November. Um, yeah, so a little bit before I listened to this podcast from Marta Beck. And around neurodivergent, there is a lot of conversations about masking, and how much you've been masking your entire life, and how much you have to adapt and fit in social norms, and things like that. And somehow it wasn't necessarily my experience. Like, I feel I've always been some kind of free spirit who doesn't really, care too much about what other people think. I've done things in my life that make no sense to other people, like, living in different countries, changing career multiple times. Like, I've always been somebody who is not always, like, dragged down by society. But I was still like, it's like I probably have been masking, because there is no way I haven't done this if it's a regular experience for people with neurodivergence. So I was also in this process of, trying to tell the truth and having integrity like this, on this journey. I was also thinking, I'm going to see actually, did I mask or did I not mask, and in what way, and then what are the places where I can improve that, because I don't want to carry that with me. I think this is really, this for me is really a burden um, when you are really like not being yourself or hiding part of you, having to mask to adapt to society. It's a real burden. It's really exhausting. And I was thinking, okay, let me learn through this process what I can do. And yeah, I would say this has been a hard journey because I had also the last year was through a program that I was doing that was a full year of program, and unfortunately it went through trauma, and I had really difficulties with people. So I could not be as I would say as bold and as ruthless in my integrity journey as I wanted, but I was still multiple times setting boundaries, saying no, really listening to what was true to me, and yeah, it was a hard journey and it created a lot of friction, but I think it also taught me a few things that I'm taking with me right now. And yeah, the first thing I learned is that I was actually performing without realizing. And this, I think we all do this. I think it's just like survival. It's, this sense of if you're not accepted by a group of people, then, automatically your brain is going to start thinking that you are not going to survive, because that's what happened when, millions of years ago. That's the normal way nature function. If you are not part of the group or part of the, even for animals, if you are not around other people from your species, then you are going to be struggling to survive and find all the resources you need, etc., etc. So I think there is a normal like survival mechanism of you have to adapt to norms of society. And I think because I was probably, my brain was on the autism spectrum, I did not know it. So I was always obsessed with learning people skills, learning communication, learning, how to understand people. And I think this was actually basically my way of trying to compensate for not always of fitting in that. And yeah, so I was masking through good communication, I would say, which is a good thing as well. But I would sometimes feel like I was not being honest enough. Like there have been a few situations, particularly with autism, where I know, for instance, like lack of kindness, or people who are really doing things to other people that are really, just from a psychological perspective, it's like, of course, you are going to hurt that person. That wants to make me scream, particularly in workplaces, or like when I see managers doing things that make no sense. It's always been very hard for me to not speak up, and I've spoken up a few more times in the last year, but it was really met with a lot of resistance and a lot of like pushback, and actually rejection from social groups. And I realized that in the past I was not doing that as much. Like I was trying to be more like palatable, or I tried to mention it, but in a way that was maybe not as strong or as clear that this was something important to change. And I always felt a little bit, bad about myself, because I was trying to make myself more palatable, but then I was also not getting the results. And this is something that I realized I was doing a bit too much. So I moved to challenging more, which has also been a harder journey. But I feel it is also something that needs to come up more for me, and really like stop to try to fit into what is rewarded, because what is rewarded in society will be to be just following the norm, be quiet, be nice, don't make any trouble, or don't challenge anything, just like just be quiet and silent. This is what is tolerated by society, more than actually people who are telling the truth, who are challenging other people to do better and having higher standards, for instance. And yeah, this is something that I realized I was masking a lot of this, or I was performing a version of me that is less direct, less honest, less challenging, less leader, basically less leadership as well. And that's something that I really want to change moving forward. And I can see how it was helping me because it was creating lower frictions. So obviously, if my body is already struggling with neurodivergence that I'm not aware of, it's easier to just go, yeah. Why would you be creating problems where there is no need? Why would you be creating some friction? But I think it's actually not a sign of maturity to always be aiming for this low friction places. So it kind of became a habit of survival, I would say, but it's not the one that I want to bring with me moving forward, for sure. And I've really tried over the last year to be more honest, to be less performative. I'm kind of really becoming actually allergic to performative places or performative situations where you have to, kind of show a version of yourself that is not you, or show a version of yourself in a very short amount of time. Like I can tell you, for instance, I'm currently unemployed and having job interviews is very hard for me, because it's like I basically have to kind of yeah, pretend to be perfect to fit in every description, but it's like I'm trying also in this process to be less performative and to just in an interview just spoke to them the way I would be speaking to you, and not trying to overdo things, not trying to present a different version of me, and just trying to make it like, yeah, this is normal conversation with another human, and if they like me, good. If they don't like me, good as well. And just having more like this kind of mindset of yeah, not trying to present a different personality or anything. And I think what I was also performing without realizing is pretending to be a low need person, which I think it's also coming from that neurodivergence. But I feel I've always been somebody who kind of wanted to come across as low maintenance, like, yeah, I can get things done. I'm easygoing. I don't have a lot of needs. I don't have a lot of requests. Which somehow is also not fully aligned with the reality of my life. I think I should right now, moving forward, try to just be more, me be clear about boundaries, be clear about my needs, and not apologize for that, because I feel there is a lot of yeah, I think there is a lot of work I need to do on myself on this specific part, but also just making sure, what, if something doesn't work for me, I'm just gonna say it doesn't work. Like, if let's say, for instance, if I have to go on a date, I really hate sitting in a very warm and a loud space with a lot of people where you can't hear yourself talking. I hate that. I would actually prefer to go on a walk, because first of all, it's physically better for me. I can be more relaxed when I'm walking, when I'm in movement. So it's actually easier when you are meeting for the first time. And also we can hear each other. So I don't need to like, kind of try to really, really listen and then trying to shout in your ear as well. This is like very uncomfortable for me. And this is the type of things like sometimes we don't realize we have like needs or really situation that makes us very uncomfortable physically, but we are just, it's like, oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, or this is what the other person wants. And I'm also learning to not do that and really express needs. And these are like little things, but actually it's something that was also performative and presented a different version of me that is a bit yeah, disconnected from me. So I'm still low maintenance, I think, but I just want to make sure that like for basic needs or things that I know this doesn't work for me, let's do it differently, than to be vocal about it and not shy away from that, because yeah, it can also help other people. Anyway, the other thing that I realized I was masking was on social media. Not as much recently, but when I started, for instance, when I was a coach and I started in 2020, I went out there with a lot of, LinkedIn posts, Instagram, lots of videos as well. And if I look back at these things, it was like, oh my God, so boring, first of all. But also it was like more like how to kind of more like, not patronizing, but it's like, oh, this is how to do things. And it's like, am I actually doing this in my life? No. And there was like a disconnect between, that what I was saying intellectually, this is how it works, but actually, was I even doing it in my life? No. Was it even something interesting in my life? No. I was just creating content around the type of coaching I was doing just to make sure that people could actually understand what I talk about. But a lot of it was really kind of disconnected, or it was more like I'm an expert coach. And I feel this is what I thought coach were supposed to be at the beginning when I was working on that. And I was also seeing a lot of coaches doing that. So it's I think it was just the way things are naturally done, and I was just following that. And through the years, I stopped doing this. I started evolving my voice, and the last year actually was more like, oh, this is my life today. This is one thing that I saw on the way to work, and still with a kind of like a life philosophy and personal development angle, but it was way more like grounded in who I am, way more grounded in actually the things that I'm interested in, not the things that I think people want to hear about, but just what do I actually have on my mind right now, and how am I processing that. And it's a little bit the same thing that I'm doing here with these videos. It's really what's on my mind right now, and how I'm processing all that, the things that I know work, because I've tested them, and it's not just like coming from the hair or this like over optimized stuff I read somewhere that I'm just putting here and regurgitating and just like throwing without knowing if it actually works. And this is, I think, this is also, like I think on social media we have a lot of like mindset around how you're supposed to present yourself. You're supposed to be always very articulate. You have to be a bit challenging, but not too much. You have to really like talk about the topic that are going to be popular, because then people are going to click and you're going to get some visibility. And I feel there is a lot of like societal norm that actually are helping us, trying to fit in of what we expect other people want from us. But I feel there is a lot of like disconnect from reality, and I would personally rather follow somebody who is honest about their journey, who is a little bit messy, who is actually talking about what they are passionate about, because they are going to show up differently, right? They're going to have different energy as well, and this is really for me refreshing. And I've got this feedback last year actually when I was posting more like things about my life and in general, that this was fresh compared to the content on LinkedIn. And it's like, yeah, it's fresh because it comes from me, and it's real life. It's not like some fake polished AI created piece of content. So yes, of course it's fresh, but it's also like it's because I'm allowing myself to do that. And yeah, also trying to not always make a lesson about out of everything, because it's very easy for coaches as well. Oh, I've seen this thing. Okay, this is what I learned from it. It's like sometimes you also need the time to process and do your own journey, do your own therapy or whatever else you need, and then you can talk about this topic. And this is also something that I feel sometimes, it's just like it's also overperforming vulnerability or things like that. There is a lot of it happening in the social media world. So this is an area where I've really noticed a lot of evolution for myself over the last 5 years. But also for now, I know moving forward, I need to keep it in this type of format where I'm just talking about what I care about and what makes sense to me, and really coming from a place of more like lived experience, from the wisdom that I've got from experience I've been through, from the real lessons, and not something too like like completely unrealistic or completely just like theoretical or out there in the air without real practice. So yeah, that's another way where I felt I was performing too much, and then I changed that, which has been I think quite successful, at least fresh. That's what I've been told. And then the last thing that I also noticed I was trying to do that is not fully aligned with me is the level of energy that I'm bringing. I can see on some of these videos that my energy feels very low compared to what I believe that I can bring. And I've seen myself being very energetic sometimes, but I'm also trying to kind of adapt it to who I am, because there is a lot of concept around here, like particularly when you're coaching and doing personal development, you need to be super high energy and really engaged and really loud and extrovert. And it's like, I'm actually a female with an autism brain. Like that is not going to be real. Like, yes, I can ramp up the energy and I can show up with way more to give, but on a normal basis you are going to get more version like this one, which is a little bit calmer, a little bit slower pace, a little bit more on the thoughtful side, a little bit more on, like lower overall energy, and trying to be high energy, or trying to, kind of not fake it, but like trying to give too much when it's not really aligned with what I feel that day. For me, it's a little bit of a performance as well. And I feel it's like it's a bit deceptive, because if you meet me in person, and I've done videos where I'm like super energetic, and then you meet me, you're gonna be like, who is this person? It's not the same thing. And I feel we all have like different energy, different consistency of energy through the days, and I'm trying to stay in the like what in my normal habitat on a normal day. I feel like I'm in a documentary for animals there, but on a normal day I will be chill. I will be a more quiet energy. I will be light. There is a lightness. There is like some, it's not like negative, heavy. It's like light energy, calm, and it's like a safe container. And sometimes I'm playful, and sometimes I'm high energy as well. But most of the days I'm going to be on the lower phase, and I don't want people to expect anything else from me. I want you to, if you see me on video and you see me in real life, you will get the same version, and maybe you will get some more and something better that you did not expect. But at least you have the real version of me. And I think this also helps me not overthink it, because trying to continuously manage your energy to show up with more, it's quite exhausting. So I do this, for instance, if I have to do workshops or things like that, I have preparation for energy, and I can show up with more, so I have more to give in that specific moment of time, in that specific container. But that's for specific opportunities and so specific occasions. I don't want to be constantly performing another type of energy. And that's also for me an exercise in accepting that, because I feel sometimes I wish I would be more energetic and have more to give, but it's like, you know what, no, that this is me, and this is also okay. And there are people who also enjoy that, and so this more like calm presence and more thoughtful and lighter vibe than the whole people who are taking a lot of space. So I need to kind of accept myself as well in this process, and that's something that's, you know, on these videos you will see I have days with less energy, days with more, and that's all right. And I just need to embrace that as well as an exercise to remove any performative layer that I might have here. So yeah, this is what I've learned. So I've learned that I was performing without realizing, and not always, you know, like sharing my voice or speaking up or expressing my needs and boundaries the way that I could have done. I've learned that on social media, I have to, you know, it took me some time to find my voice and bring it to the level of authenticity and freshness, and just yeah, they're just just natural vibe that I wanted, and I'm still working on the energy levels and making sure that I accept that as I am. And yeah, what feels more real right now for me is that version of me. It's that version of me that is not trying to fit or trying to not tell the truth, and just letting it come out a little bit more. And a few things that I'm doing right now, obviously, is continuing this integrity journey, and always making sure that I notice when things don't feel aligned with what is true to me, and see if I can do something about it, see if I can express something, or I can make a different decision, whether it's for my needs, for my interests, for in general the no's, the yes I want to say, and just like continuing this process of unmasking and exploring where I might have been masking in my life. And I feel actually this YouTube challenge is helping, because I'm realizing, you know, which topic I want to talk about, which I don't want to. I also have to kind of face myself quite a lot in this. When I prepare this video, I'm really reflecting a lot around around what I've been through, and some of these things I have to face some hard truth, and some of these things I have to, you know, notice where I might have done things that make no sense to me right now. So I'm also able to unearth a lot of this through this process. So it's very, very, very helpful. I'm also always trying to think about, you know, if nobody was watching me right now, would I be doing the same thing? Would I be talking about the same thing? Would I be making the same decision? And having this place of disconnecting from the noise of the world, and just coming back to hearing that, and yeah, just letting that guide me a little bit more. That I think that really, really helps. And also embracing what I want to be perceived as, because when I'm thinking back about when I'm not telling the truth, or when I'm not expressing my need, and, you know, this, like, I want to be low maintenance, so I want to be somebody who is more palatable and not as a challenger. All these things are not necessarily true, and for me it's like finding a new definition of who I would like to be perceived as. Because being perceived as calm and thoughtful, that is very good, but also maybe, you know, maybe I want to be perceived as somebody who is always telling the truth. Maybe I want to be perceived as somebody who is never letting a low standard of act of lack of kindness being unaddressed. So it's like, what do I want to be known for? And actually being known for somebody who is actually courageous enough to speak up, that knows herself and know what her needs, what our needs to perform better. All of this is actually positive. It's actually, for me, it's a sign of evolution, and it's something that I feel I need to embody more. But having really this question of, you know, what would I like to be known for, and maybe defining a different thing that just low maintenance, high energy, and you know, an expert. All these things don't work anymore. So it's like, what is the opposite of that? What is the thing that would be truer to me, and how can I work towards that? And how can I work towards that in these videos, on social media, with people, in my relationships in general, and just really kind of building that in a stronger way, so that when I turn 40 in a few days, um, yeah, 48 days. In 48 days, then I can really embrace that more. And I think that's so really like help me just have a better life with less friction at the end of the day, because I also believe, you know, right now there is a bit of effort, because I'm pushing against what I believe society wants, or I'm being more challenging for people, and there is some rejection as well, and there is some hardship in there. But at the end of the day, I feel this is also a very good filter to remove people in my life who don't understand me, and would want me to be somebody else. And just by aligning with myself even further, then the right people can step in, the right people can appreciate me, and this is also just like an act of cleanup, I would say, from relationship perspective. And yeah, I feel it's easier to be seen and to be known as well, and to be understood if you're actually showing more of who you are, rather than trying to fit in what the world wants. And yeah, this is a journey. It takes time, it takes energy, but I will let you, I will let you know how it goes. And if you're also somebody on this journey, let me know, so I can also cheer you on, so that we can all show up in the world unique, and sharing our voice with as much authenticity and genuinity, and without filter, and just having all this relief and all this inner peace that comes from not having to mask or perform or have life that don't really match the reality of what we are actually experiencing. So yeah, if you also want that peace, let me know. If you're working towards that, I will be there cheering on you until you get there, until we all get there. And in the meantime, if you don't know, my name is Chloe, and I'm currently doing a 80 days video challenge to learn, unlearn, talk about what I want to leave behind before I turn 40, which is going to happen in 48 days. And if that's interesting for you, if you want to just hear somebody talk about reinvention, about confidence, about how to come closer to yourself and create a life that is yours, that would probably confuse your younger self, this is the channel for you. You can subscribe down below, and I see you tomorrow for another video.